Let me tell you something most of us were never taught. School showed you how to become a good employee, but it never showed you how to make money work for you. Maybe someone explained how to balance a checking account, but nobody sat you down and taught you about compound growth, low-cost index funds, tax-advantaged accounts like Roth IRAs and HSAs, or why reaching your first $100,000 invested is one of the biggest milestones you'll ever hit financially. And if you grew up in a black family, chances are those conversations weren't happening at home either. Not because your parents didn't care, not because they didn't want better for you. They simply weren't given that knowledge themselves. That changes today. I'm going to walk you through a simple investing system that has helped ordinary people build real, lasting wealth. The kind of wealth that gives your children a head start instead of forcing them to begin from scratch. The kind that changes the future of an entire family. Stay with me, because this conversation is for us. You've probably seen those investing charts online. They show someone putting away a small amount every month, and by retirement, they've built hundreds of thousands of dollars. You look at it and think, I can do that. So you open a brokerage account, automate $50 a month, into an S&P 500 index fund, stay consistent for a couple of years, and then check your balance expecting something impressive. Instead, you see around $1,400. And you're wondering, is this really it? Compound growth has a tipping point. There comes a stage where your portfolio is simply too small for compounding to feel meaningful. Below that level, your money grows so slowly that it almost feels like nothing is happening. And that's exactly where millions of people give up, because they mistake slow progress for no progress. Think about it. If you invest $50 every month and earn an average annual return of about 8%, roughly in line with the long-term performance of the S&P 500 after 30 years, you'll end up with around $75,000. That sounds decent till you realize you personally contributed about $18,000 over those 3 decades. Now increase that contribution to $200 per month, and suddenly you're approaching $300,000. Raise it again to $400 a month, and now you're looking at nearly $600,000. Same market, same average return, completely different outcome. The biggest difference isn't luck. It isn't who your parents were or where you grew up. It's how much you consistently invest. During your first several years, your monthly contributions matter far more than small differences in investment returns. Compounding doesn't truly start feeling powerful until your investments reach somewhere around $100,000 to $150,000. That's when your money begins producing meaningful growth on its own. Most people were never told that. But this isn't only about numbers. It's also about history. The racial wealth gap in America didn't happen by chance. It developed over generations through policies and systems that limited opportunities for black families to build wealth. Redlining kept many black families out of neighborhoods where home values appreciated the fastest. After World War II, many black veterans faced barriers that prevented them from fully benefiting from programs that helped millions of other Americans build wealth through home ownership and education. And in 1921, the thriving black community known as Black Wall Street in Tulsa was destroyed, wiping out businesses, homes, and generations of economic progress. We didn't just miss lessons about investing. For many families, access to the opportunities that create wealth was intentionally limited. So when you hear that the median white family still has several times the wealth of the median black family, that isn't simply about working harder or wanting it more. It's the result of generations of unequal opportunities. But here's what I refuse to believe, and what I hope you refuse to believe, too. History explains where we started. It does not have to decide where we finish. The fact that the system wasn't built with us in mind doesn't mean we can't learn it, use it, and build something so strong that our children and grandchildren benefit from decisions we make today. Real progress begins when we decide to understand money at a level previous generations never had the chance to learn. So let me show you the roadmap. The order matters. Don't skip steps. Don't rearrange them. The sequence is part of the strategy. First, build an emergency fund. Before you invest your first dollar, save at least $1,000 in cash for unexpected expenses. This isn't vacation money. It isn't shopping money. It's protection against life's surprises, because those surprises are coming. Your car needs repairs. Someone in the family has a medical bill. Your phone breaks. Without an emergency fund, you'll end up using credit cards or pulling money out of your investments every time something goes wrong. Start with $1,000, then gradually build that into 3 to 6 months of living expenses. Next, eliminate high-interest debt. Focus on paying off any debt charging more than about 8% interest, especially credit cards, where average interest rates today are well above 20%. Understand this clearly. You cannot consistently earn investment returns that beat a 22% credit card interest rate. Paying off that debt is essentially the same as earning a guaranteed 22% return on your money. No stock market investment can promise that. Attack high-interest debt with everything you've got. Whether you prefer the debt snowball method or the debt avalanche method doesn't matter nearly as much as staying committed until it's gone. Once that's under control, it's time for the next move. If your employer offers a 401k match, contribute enough to receive every dollar they're willing to give you. Don't leave free money behind. Think about it. If your company matches 50 cents for every dollar you contribute up to 6% of your salary, you're earning an immediate 50% return on those contributions before the stock market even has a chance to grow your investment. There are very few opportunities in life that offer a guaranteed return like that. Take advantage of every dollar. After that, open an IRA. An individual retirement account gives you much more control over your investments than most workplace retirement plans. You'll often have access to lower-cost funds, more investment choices, and greater flexibility than whatever limited menu your employer provides. If you're younger or expect your income to be higher later in life, a Roth IRA is often an excellent choice because you pay taxes now and your qualified withdrawals in retirement are tax-free. If lowering your taxable income today is the bigger priority, a traditional IRA may make more sense. Whichever option fits your situation, make it a goal to contribute the maximum allowed each year. Next comes one of the most overlooked wealth-building tools available, the Health Savings Account. If you qualify through a high-deductible health plan, an HSA is incredibly powerful. Your contributions can reduce your taxable income. Your investments grow tax-free, and withdrawals used for qualified medical expenses are also tax-free. That's 3 separate tax advantages working together. After age 65, you can even withdraw the money for non-medical expenses, with those withdrawals simply being taxed like a traditional IRA. Very few accounts offer benefits like that. If you're eligible, don't ignore it. Once you've built those pieces, return to your 401k and work toward maximizing your annual contributions. This is where you continue taking full advantage of the tax benefits available through your employer's retirement plan. And after you've done all of that, open a taxable brokerage account. This becomes your flexible investing account. There are no contribution limits, no penalties for withdrawing before retirement age, and complete freedom over how you invest. Whether you prefer broad index funds, ETFs, or carefully selected individual stocks, this account gives you flexibility. But notice the order. You earned that flexibility only after building a strong financial foundation. Now, I want to tell you something that can keep you from making the same mistake that causes so many people to quit. Building wealth happens in 2 very different stages. Most people give up right before the second one begins. The first stage is the contribution phase. This is the hardest part. For the first 10, sometimes even 15 years, your progress feels painfully slow. Most of your account balance comes from the money you're putting in, not from investment growth. You're making smart financial decisions every month, yet it barely feels like anything is changing. This is where many Black families lose confidence, not because they lack discipline. Our communities have shown incredible resilience for generations, The problem is that nobody explained this stage to us. When the results feel small, it's easy to believe the strategy isn't working. But it is. You just haven't reached the point where compounding begins doing the heavy lifting. Then comes the second stage, the compounding phase. Once your investments reach roughly $100,000 to $150,000, something starts to change. Instead of earning a few $1,000s from market growth, your investments may generate $12,000, $18,000, or even $25,000 in a strong year without you increasing your effort. Now, your money is producing meaningful money. That's the stage many previous generations never had the opportunity to experience, not because they weren't willing to work. They worked incredibly hard, but too many barriers prevented them from building enough invested wealth for compounding to truly take over. We have the opportunity to reach that point. Every dollar you invest moves you one step closer. And before we finish, there's one more lesson that can dramatically improve your long-term results. Stop trying to perfectly time the stock market. History has shown that over long investing periods, missing just a handful of the market's best days can dramatically reduce your overall returns. Those biggest gains often happen immediately after major market declines, which is exactly when many people panic and sell. That's why consistent investing works so well. Invest the same amount month after month. When prices are high, you buy. When prices fall, you buy more shares at lower prices. You don't panic. You don't chase headlines. You stay invested. Over long periods, the U.S. stock market has rewarded patient investors who remained committed through both good times and bad. The real question isn't whether the market will experience ups and downs. It absolutely will. The question is whether you'll still be invested long enough to benefit from its long-term growth. Stay in the game. And if you're a teenager, or you're raising, mentoring, or encouraging someone who's still young, listen closely. Time is the greatest financial advantage anyone can have. Young Black Americans have decades of compounding ahead of them if they start early. One of the smartest gifts you can give them is a custodial investment account, such as a UGMA or UTMA account. A parent or guardian opens and manages the account while the child is young, and ownership transfers to them once they reach adulthood. That head start can change the course of an entire lifetime. Any money they earn from mowing lawns, babysitting, part-time jobs, summer work, or side hustles can be invested. Think about what that means. If a 16-year-old invests just $200 a month and earns an average annual return of around 8%, they could build a portfolio worth well over $1 million by the time they reach retirement age. That's the power of starting early. Just as important, teach them to stay away from unnecessary consumer debt, especially expensive car loans. If possible, help them buy their first car with cash, even if it's older and far from perfect. The goal isn't to impress people. The goal is to develop the habit of owning your car instead of making monthly payments for years. That habit is worth far more than driving something flashy. Plant those habits early. Keep reinforcing them. Over time, they'll grow into something extraordinary. And I want to leave you with one final thought. When Black families build real, lasting wealth, it isn't only a personal victory. It strengthens families. It expands opportunities. It changes the future. Every dollar you invest is a decision to become an owner instead of just a consumer. Every retirement account you consistently contribute to creates possibilities that many previous generations never had. Every time you choose long-term investing over chasing quick money, you're changing the financial story your family will tell for decades to come. Most of us were never taught these principles. Our parents often weren't taught them either, and many of our grandparents never had the same opportunities or access to financial education that others did. But today, we know better, and knowledge by itself isn't enough. What matters is what we do with it. So before you leave this video, I want you to do 3 things. First, figure out where you are financially. Do you have an emergency fund? Have you eliminated your high-interest debt? Are you contributing enough to get your full employer match? Know exactly where you stand. Second, open one investment account today. Not next week, not next month, today. Whether it's a Roth IRA with a company like Fidelity, Vanguard, or Charles Schwab, or enrolling in your employer's 401k, take one concrete step before this day is over. Momentum starts with action. And finally, share this video with someone who needs to hear it. A younger sibling, a cousin, a friend, a teenager who's never had anyone explain how money really works. Because lasting change doesn't happen when information stays with one person. It happens when each generation passes that knowledge to the next. That's how families build wealth, and that's how cycles begin to change.